Complexity can be both a good thing and a bad thing. Warframe has been cooking since 2013, making it one of the most complex games in the market. Its layered quests, content, and systems, however, can make Warframe incredibly difficult to grasp for new players. The game itself doesn't do a particularly good job of telling new players what to do, which is where this guide comes in. Over the course of this video, we'll cover everything you need to know as a new Warframe player, from which Warframe to choose as your starter frame, to how to increase your power with mods and navigate the star chart. At the end, we'll even lay out a checklist of important weekly activities and point out game-breaking mistakes to avoid. Hey everyone, it's Spopes. Thanks for watching. Before we dive in, please like, hype, and subscribe. We're going to start with choosing your starter Warframe. The first major choice you'll face in the game is selecting between 3 different starter Warframe options. This occurs within the initial tutorial quest in the game called the Awakening, which does teach you something about how to play the game, but nonetheless, new players often don't know which frame to choose, and they don't understand the consequences of your choice. The first thing to mention is that unlike in a game like Pokemon, where your choice of a starter companion sticks with you for basically the entire game, the consequences of the choice you make here are pretty minimal. Whichever frame you go with, you'll be able to get the other 2 relatively easily, relatively early on in the game. So the first thing I want to mention is don't sweat this choice too much. You're not going to be stuck with the choice you make for very long. But the 3 Warframes you have the option to choose between are Excalibur. Like the name suggests, this is a swordsman archetype. Excalibur is mainly focused on melee combat, with abilities like Radial Blind, providing excellent crowd control, and Exalted Blade summoning a high damage energy sword that slices through early game bosses with ease. I'll just cut straight to the chase and recommend Excalibur to any new players. This is the easiest and most rewarding frame to choose. The other 2 we're going to cover do have their own benefits, but in addition to being the poster boy of the entire game, Excalibur is also much more intuitive and easy to use than the other 2 options. And again, you'll be able to get the other 2 options relatively early along in the game. So when in doubt, Excal it out. But one of your other 2 options is Mag. The main focus of Mag is on crowd control. This caster-oriented Warframe manipulates magnetic fields to strip enemy shields and armor. Her Magnetize skill creates bullet bubbles that redirect enemy fire back at them. However, using Mag effectively requires understanding energy management, which is something you won't really grasp until later on in the game. You're gonna have to deny your instincts to just jump in and hack and slash everything to death. Now, Mag is a female frame, so if you identify with that gender more strongly, you may want to choose this Warframe. But overall, again, Excalibur is the more intuitive option. Then your third option is Volt, and where Volt really shines is in speed. This is a versatile, high-energy Warframe. His ability Electric Shields boosts critical damage. He has the ability to speed himself up, and he can clear entire rooms with ease with his discharge ability. Compared to Excalibur or Mag, Volt remains useful on into the endgame, so this Warframe might make sense as an early investment. However, just like Mag, to use Volt effectively, you need to have some basic knowledge of how the game works, making, again, Excalibur the best choice for new players, in my opinion. But again, I'll just reiterate, whichever one you choose, don't stress it. You'll be able to get not only the other starter frames, but dozens of other Warframes, each with their own unique ability toolkit, relatively early on in the game. Between Excalibur, Mag, and Volt, just choose whichever option you resonate with the most. Understand that a whole world of new options will open up for you relatively soon. Moving on to movement and combat. That same tutorial quest in which you choose your first Warframe will also teach you all this to some degree, but it is worth going over Warframe's parkour system in a little bit more detail, because it is one of the central highlights of the game, something that makes Warframe truly unique and a lot of fun, whether you're just starting out or you have hundreds of hours under your belt. So where Warframe is different from basically every other game is your immense freedom of movement. In Warframe, you can bullet jump in any direction, even straight up. The bullet jump is the most unique component of the Warframe movement toolkits, but it is not the only aspect that makes movement in Warframe unique. But to bullet jump, you just hold crouch, then press the jump button. And whichever direction you're facing, you will bullet jump in that direction. You can also move through the map in Warframe at incredible speed by chaining different mobility functions together. To take full advantage of this, bullet jump at around a 45-degree angle, then double jump, and then hold the aim button to glide. So again, simply bullet jump, double jump, and then glide to take advantage of all of Warframe's advanced parkour abilities all at once. Next, it's important to understand how damage works in Warframe. We'll get more into this in a future section, but just as a brief overview, the three basic types of physical damage are impact, puncture, and slash. Impact damages shields and opens enemies up to high damage mercy finishers. Puncture deals bonus damage to armor and reduces the damage the enemy inflicts on you. Slash, however, is the undisputed king of physical damage. It bypasses armor entirely, dealing direct damage over time to the enemy's health pool via bleed status effects. As far as melee weapons go, I highly recommend weapons that do slash damage, both for early and endgame content. Those three types of physical damage are by far not the only types of damage you can do in the game. That's just a basic overview to get you started. Once you've chosen a starter frame and you understand the basics of movement and damage in the game, a new challenge awaits you, understanding what to do in Warframe in terms of content. In this section, we're going to cover how to complete Junctions and which order to progress in the main quest to get the most out of the game. Junctions are special missions you complete to unlock additional planets in the star chart. So completing the Venus Junction on Earth, for instance, gives you access to Venus and all of its missions. Then you complete the Mercury Junction to access Mercury, and so on and so forth, until the entirety of the original star chart is unlocked. Certain other areas like Deimos and Zariman are unlocked by different means, but that's not something you need to know about yet as a new player. Your first and foremost focus should be unlocking Junctions. These each have a unique boss that's relatively difficult to beat, but they do test the abilities and powers you've gained so far. To understand that each junction is meant to function as a challenge that provides the excellent reward of unlocking further content in the Warframe star chart. But speaking of content, Warframe is not just about exploring the star chart. There's also a very rich cinematic storyline in the game that you'll want to get through to unlock new content and experience Warframe in its entirety. So in this guide, I'm explaining the order in which you should complete the initial quests in the game, but check out my returning player guide, which is linked above and in the description, for where to go from there. So once you've completed the tutorial quest, The Awakening, you're going to want to tackle Vor's Prize, where you face one of the recurring villains of the early quest lines, Vor, and unlock further functionality. From there, you do the quest Once Awake, and then the Archwing to unlock your very own flying mech. Next, you should do Stolen Dreams, a side quest, and the New Strange, which is located under Warframe quests. This is essential for the development of the main quest line, even though these quests are included in different sections. Going back to the main quest line, the next quest in the order of progression is Nata, which is quite lengthy and intense, but definitely worth it. From there, prepare yourself for the second Dream, which represents a huge step forward in the narrative quality of the game, has some amazing cinematics, and features a major reveal. Next is the War Within, which continues the narrative of the second Dream. Then from there, you should complete the Chains of Harrow and the Apostasy Prologue. That will prepare you for the Sacrifice, which focuses on a new Warframe, Excalibur Umbra. And then finally, the New War. I will warn you, the New War takes about 6 hours. You can't do anything else once you start it. You can take breaks, though, whenever your progress is saved. But you play as different characters. There's lots of spying and sneaking. It is quite intense, but it is really worth it. Then from there, you'll be caught up with basically the first 10 years of content in Warframe. I recommend switching over to my returning player guide to figure out where to go from there. And before we go on, a quick note on open world content, namely the Plains of Eidolon on Earth, Orb Valis on Venus, and the Cambion Drift on Deimos. Do not get stuck here early on. It's fine to jump in and test it out, see what it's like, but understand that a lot of the progression here, a lot of the resources, only really apply to endgame content. You're going to spend a lot of time in these open world zones, also known as free roam zones, later on in the game. But for now, just progress through the quests in the star chart until you've unlocked the full star chart and you've caught up with the New War. All right, next we're going to cover the basics of your arsenal in Warframe, including how to mod your Warframe and your weapons. Your Warframe is kind of like your character. There are lots to choose from. They each have their own identity and abilities. And from there, you have 3 weapons: your primary weapon, your secondary weapon, and your melee weapon. For all of these, your Warframe and all your weapons, you have the ability to slot mods and arcanes. As a new player, you really don't need to worry about arcanes. I'll cover that in more detail in a future video. But we should talk about mods, which ones are most essential, what mod polarity is, what mod capacity is, etc. Mod capacity is this number up here, which essentially indicates how many mods you can slot on your Warframe. Each mod takes up a certain amount of capacity. For instance, Razor Mortar here takes 9 capacity. So essentially you want to make sure the cost of your mods does not exceed the capacity of your frame or your weapon. One way you can increase the capacity of the items in your arsenal is with either an Orokin reactor on your Warframe or an Orokin catalyst on your weapons. Whether it's your weapon or your Warframe, these items double your mod capacity. To make sure you use your mod capacity efficiently, try to match up your mods with the polarity of your slot. So for instance, this empty slot here is polarized for Madurai. That's this kind of V-looking symbol. When you slot a mod with its matching polarity, its capacity cost goes down by half. You can also increase the overall capacity of your Warframe with Aura mods. These are slotted in the top left slot here, and instead of using capacity, they give you extra capacity. So because I've slotted Summoner's Wrath here on a Madurai Aura slot, my whole Warframe gets 14 extra capacity. Next to your Aura slot, you will find an Exilus slot. These are basically utility mods. You don't have to put them here, but you have an extra slot just for Exilus. And Exilus mods are marked by this symbol. So a fully maxed out Warframe mod setup will consist of 8 normal mods, 1 Aura mod, and 1 Exilus mod, plus Arcanes, which I'm just skipping over for now. You'll want to match mods with their polarity and install an Orokin reactor on your Warframe or an Orokin catalyst on your weapon as soon as possible. Once you get your Warframe or your weapon to its max rank, you can use an item called a Forma to change the polarity of a slot, or add polarity to a slot that is not polarized. This allows you to get extra capacity out of your arsenal item, but it does reset its rank back to 0, meaning you have to level it up all over again. And when it comes to making mods more powerful, you do want to rank them up. To rank up a mod, simply select the key that says Hold to enhance. The number of ranks each mod has depends on the mod, but whatever mod it is, ranking it up will cost both Endo and credits. These are essential currencies you will need tons of throughout your Warframe journey, and I am planning to make dedicated guides on how to get both, but also do understand that you will simply acquire Endo and credits passively as you progress through the game and its many missions and quests. There are optimized ways to farm each of them, but as a new player, you won't need to worry about that too much. Do check back in the near future for the dedicated guides I'm going to make on how to farm credits and Endo. I want to be thorough here, but I also don't want to go overly long and overwhelm you. So we're going to finish up this section just by listing out some essential mods and explaining how elemental damage works on weapons. So some of the most essential mods in your Warframe include Redirection, which increases your shield capacity, and Vitality, which increases your health. From there, you'll also want Intensify and or Continuity to increase the power and duration of your abilities. The mod Flow increases your maximum energy, and Streamline reduces the cost of abilities. Whichever Warframe you start with, try to slot all those mods. And then on your primary weapon, the most important mods are Serration for increased damage, assuming it's a rifle, which I do recommend for your primary as a new player. Shotguns and bows are good in some ways, but rifles are a lot easier to understand. Then also Split Chamber. This is the upgraded version, Galvanized Chamber, but both Galvanized and Split Chamber being the easier early game option to get, increase your multi-shot for rifles. Then on your secondary weapon, the two most important mods are Hornet Strike and Barrel Diffusion. Hornet Strike increases the overall damage of your secondary, while Barrel Diffusion increases its multi-shot. And then on your melee weapon, I recommend Pressure Point and Fury. Pressure Point for increased damage, Fury for increased attack speed. And I did forget to mention that just as Warframes have aura mods, melee weapons also have stance mods that change how you use the weapon and also increase its capacity. I know it's a lot, but we should mention one more thing in this section before finishing up, and that's elemental damage. In Warframe, there are 4 main types of elemental damage: Toxin, Electricity, Cold, and Heat. These are great on their own, they're each useful against different enemy types, but you can also combine them to create new elemental damage types: Corrosive, Blast, Magnetic, Radiation, Gas, and Viral. To get Corrosive, you combine Toxin and Electricity. To get Blast, you get Cold and Heat. To get Gas, you get Toxin and Heat. And to get Viral, you combine Cold and Toxin. Now, how you combine these elements is by slotting them in succession in your mods. It doesn't say so in the game, but mods in Warframe progress from the left to the right and from the top to the bottom. So over here, this is essentially mod slot 1, and this is mod slot 8. So to get Viral, for instance, you need to have Toxin and then Cold, one after the other, in the order of mod progression. So for instance, here I have Toxin in mod slot 3, and then Cold in mod slot 4, which gives me Viral damage. Without providing too much information, just understand that Viral is probably the best choice for new players if you want good elemental damage, but there are tons of options to play with here. Next, we're going to cover briefly how mastery ranks and platinum purchases work in the game. So mastery is a system that mainly determines which warframes and weapons you can access, and also how many items you can have, how much reputation you can have with syndicates, etc. All you really need to know as a new player is you want to prioritize increasing your mastery level early on. You do so simply by mastering warframes, weapons, and other items that level up, like your Archwing. You get mastery points whenever you get a new piece of gear up to max level. This is why it's important to level up different warframes and weapons, even if you don't intend to use them, simply to farm mastery points. Then at each mastery level, there is a test that you need to complete to get to the next mastery level. These vary in content and difficulty, but you can preview any mastery test before you do it by going to Cephalon Samaris' Sanctuary in any relay. But yes, long story short, try to grind up your mastery ranks as quickly as possible as a new Warframe player. You'll need to do so to unlock new content in the game. Also, let's briefly touch on Platinum. Platinum is the primary premium currency in Warframe. And one thing that makes Warframe really different from other live service games with premium currency is you can freely trade this currency with other players. There is a huge and dynamic platinum market in Warframe, where you can essentially sell items to make an infinite amount of platinum without ever spending a single dollar. Every new Warframe account is also awarded 50 free platinum. You cannot trade this free platinum with other players. They did that to prevent exploits, but you can use it to get a basic idea of how platinum works in the game and give yourself a couple important upgrades. Personally, I recommend to use your free platinum on Warframe and weapon slots. You will unlock more Warframe and weapon slots as you go up in mastery rank, but even so, you probably won't have enough of these to have all the Warframes and weapons you want to have. So don't get distracted by the various shiny items in the store. Instead, set yourself up for long-term success by using that free platinum for Warframe and weapon slots. Speaking of Warframes and weapons, let's talk a little bit about how you're going to get each of those. The primary way you get anything new in Warframe is by crafting it in the Foundry. To craft any item, you need a variety of different resources and or parts. This gets complicated quickly, but just understand that you will need to farm these parts and resources to make new items in the game. Thankfully, I do already have a dedicated video out on farming that covers the basics of how to farm, which Warframes and weapons to use, basic tips and tricks. So I do recommend checking that out for further details. But long story short, you'll unlock the Foundry early on in the game, and you'll use it to get basically all the gear you're going to want. So checking out that farming guide to understand how to get all the resources you're going to need is an essential step as a Warframe new player. All right, now we are really almost at the end. Thanks so much for sticking with me. I hope you've learned a lot. We're going to start finishing up with a weekly and daily checklist. So every day when you log in, the daily login reset for me on Pacific time is 5 p.m. You will get a daily login reward. These are random and vary from day to day, but do make sure you log into Warframe at least once per day to get your daily reward. Sometimes it's rare resources or hefty discounts off platinum, so even if you take a break from the game, definitely log in at least once per day to get your reward. You should also log in every day to farm Syndicate standing. You join Syndicates by going to the Syndicate station that's over here next to your navigation screen, and then choosing a Syndicate to pledge yourself to. These Syndicates don't get along, so as you go up in standing with one Syndicate, you'll go down with other ones. I'll also come out with a guide soon on which Syndicate to choose for which reason. When you're first starting out, just choose whichever one appeals to you, and then you'll gain standing in your Syndicate by just doing most missions. You can also grind Syndicate standing specifically by doing missions for your Syndicate. And then every week, new objectives and rewards will be available in Nightwave. Nightwave is kind of like a free battle pass, where you complete objectives to get points. Getting points progresses you along the battle pass, and at various points you'll get cred, a currency you use in the cred offering store, which does refresh every week to get valuable cosmetics, mods, and other items. So as far as a weekly checklist goes, just make sure you check out Nightwave whenever it resets, and the countdown to the reset is shown in the bottom left of the Nightwave screen. Also, I got a little ahead of myself. There is a daily activity that resets every day that you should try to do once you've gone to the mid-game. I'm talking about sorties, which are shown up here in the top bar of the star chart. These provide very valuable rewards for new players, and they reset every day. Something similar to sorties that resets every week, once you've completed the new war, is Archon hunts. These also give very valuable rewards. I will mention though that sorties are relatively difficult, and Archon hunts are even more difficult, but in terms of a daily and weekly checklist, these are worth mentioning. Now back to weekly checklists, there are a variety of vendors in the game who refresh their wares on a weekly basis. A lot of these you won't unlock until later in the game, but two you unlock relatively early on are Teshin, the Steel Path vendor, who's located in any relay. To unlock Steel Path, you just have to complete every node in the original star chart, And then you also unlock Iron Wake after completing the Chains of Hero quest. And in this area on Earth, there's a vendor called Paladino, whose wares also refresh on a weekly basis. So just make sure you complete those activities on a daily or weekly basis to get the most out of the game. And now for the final section of the video. Just a few mistakes you should avoid as a new player. First, as tempting as it may be, do not buy resources from the Platinum market in Warframe. These are very overpriced, and with my farming guide, that is again in the description, you can farm all of these. Buying resources from the market is a great way to waste your Platinum, so definitely farm them instead. Also, never get rid of any gear before it reaches rank 30. You have to get gear to rank 30 to get your mastery points. So even if it's something you're not going to use, level it all the way up once to collect your mastery points. Also, don't sell any weapons that are used as components of other weapons. So for instance, this secondary, the Viper, is pretty much useless, but you need 2 of them to craft the Twin Vipers. And as you farm mastery points, you're going to want to create every single weapon there is. So definitely check online resources to find out if you can safely sell or get rid of a weapon, after of course getting it to rank 30, before you get rid of it. Also, try to avoid the temptation of rushing builds to completion in the Foundry. This is a great way to waste Platinum. One way that Warframe can be arguably kind of pay to win, or exploitative, is it does take a very long time to craft anything, usually between 12 hours and 3 days. But still, just take a break from the game, do something else, wait forever your crafting to be crafted, instead of wasting your Platinum on finishing the job. Also keep in mind you don't have to claim an item just because it's finished building. Anything you've built in the Foundry will remain in the completed section until you want to claim it. So if you don't have enough slots for something right now, don't sweat it, just leave it in the Foundry and claim it when you have the slots available. And now I have one last tip. I'm going to come out with a whole video on new player mistakes to avoid, but I've already gone quite a bit over the time I wanted to do for this video. So to keep it from being too unwieldy, we're going to finish up here by recommending that you do not ever sell any prime parts for credits. It's much better to exchange these for ducats, which you can then use to buy items from the periodic vendor Barrow Katir. Again, I'll have a whole guide on that eventually as well. But for now, just understand you should hoard prime parts, which you will get from Void Fissure missions, and not sell them for credits. All right, everyone, that's going to do it. I really hope you found the guide to be useful. Again, as a new Warframe player, the game can be overwhelming. I really hope this guide helped you with not feeling overwhelmed in the game and set you up for success in Warframe. In the comments, please let me know if there's anything else you want to know about, any other guides you'd like me to make. Please provide any feedback on the video, anything I missed or did not explain properly. And before you go, if you have not, please subscribe to the channel. Also, please do like and hype this video. And if you want to support the work I'm doing here even further, please join the Spopes Army as a member, check out my merch, or leave a donation. This guide was quite the labor of love. I appreciate all your support and for sticking with it until the end. But as much as I appreciate all of you, I'm even more grateful to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So we're going to finish this video like I finish all my videos with a brief prayer. Lord Christ, thank you for making it possible to make this video today. Please empower it to help many people, help them enjoy Warframe, help them immerse themselves in the game without any difficulty. And Lord, I thank you for my channel. I give you all glory for my channel and for this video. I ask that you bless my channel and my whole community, that you bless my efforts here on YouTube and in the rest of my life. Lord, I ask that your blessing of providence be upon everyone watching this video. Bless them with excellent experiences in Warframe and in the real world. Lord, I thank you for all your gifts and your blessings. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. All right, you're a champion for watching all the way to the end. Thanks so much for supporting the channel. Before you go, please do like, hype, comment, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, turn on notifications, because I'll be back soon with new content.